I'm a semi-retired school teacher, the webmaster of economicuprising.com, which is paying for the room, and the listserv Stop the War Politics. 2 days ago on Democracy Now!, one of the speakers said that climate in the election campaign is like Voldemort, he who must not be named. And it certainly was that way. In the debates, climate change, or really climate catastrophe, was never mentioned. It was mentioned by Romney at the Republican convention, and I got a quote here. He says, "President Obama promised to begin to slow the rise of oceans and to heal the planet." And then he stopped, and everybody laughed because this is ridiculous. My promise is to help you and your family. We see this week, of course, that the idea of slowing the ocean rise and healing the planet is not really that a ridiculous idea, and in fact, it's a crisis. It is a catastrophe. I think to our crowd, we don't have to lecture, but the experts are divided. We have between 5 and 15 years to fix it. We're already locked into 1 degree increase, I believe that's Fahrenheit, in global warming, and we see what it's done. Besides the superstorm, the Frankenstorm, there was the other 100-year hurricane just last year, and the terrible drought in Australia, the 20 million displaced in Pakistan, the hundreds or thousands killed in Russia from the heating, the extra hot summer just a couple of years ago, and we can go on and on. And if we don't do something, drastic measures, we are faced with 4 or 5 degree climate, and that would be incredible. Maybe this is a wake-up call, as Bill McGibbon said a couple days ago on Democracy Now! But of course, the corporations, and in particular the fossil fuel industry, will do everything they can to stifle this. But we're in a terrible situation. The TV, even in the midst of the storm, or as it's being, as it's passed, barely will talk about climate change. I've heard them say this is the new normal. This is it. We just have to put up with it, and then maybe, get some more oil out of Alaska so we can pump up the air conditioning as the heat rises. I mean, people, I think, thought, the oceans will rise. That'll mean they go up like this, over 100 years. But we see it doesn't work like that. Look at Lower Manhattan. Look at the flooded tunnels, and et cetera, et cetera. I don't think this can be solved easily or at all by a capitalist system. I am an abolitionist, and the thing that should be abolished is slavery, capital punishment, and capitalism. Now, I do support the lesser of two evils. This is done sometimes in France, or in Europe, and thinking in France, where all the parties get their shot. They go out and they campaign, and then the top two are left, and the left and the extreme left goes, and they say, well, one of them is not as bad as the other, and they vote that way. Unfortunately, we can't do that here. It is evils we're talking about. I wanted to read you a little bit I just got from David Swanson today. He challenged Madeleine Albright. He went to a Democratic Party headquarters, I think in Virginia, and he went up to her and said, you still think it was worth it to kill all those hundreds of thousands of children in Iraq? And she was just casual about it and said, I've said this many times, I shouldn't have answered that question that way. And then he tried to pursue it, and then all these other people, these Democrats, the party of the people, the progressives, started threatening him, and so he had to leave at that point. I mean, that's just a small thing, but do remember there was Clinton and Madeleine Albright, the Democrats, who brought us those hideous hundreds of thousands killed. I don't think we live in a democracy. I mean, the Electoral College, you know, that deformation. There's total domination of the electoral system by money, and they furiously suppress third-party efforts. Democrats against Nader in 2004, where they sued him again and again, falsely alleging that he committed fraud in getting the signatures he needed. All that stuff with the voter ID this year. And then something you may not have heard of, a lawfare. This is warfare, really, by using the courts. A California court found in a particular case that the voting law that really excluded third parties was legal. And then a Republican PAC or a group of real right-wingers went to town and they said, we want court costs. And in a really unprecedented decision, 5 activists, art-type people, together were fined $256,000. And they're appealing it. They think it may cost them $700,000 just to go through the legal part, and hoping that they win. I'm going to sum up in just another minute or so, but it's not a democracy, it's a moneyocracy. And it's rigged so that we don't even have the chance to get our shot, to see what we can get on a third party, and then vote for the lesser of two evils. And it is an evil. I mean, Obama, who I think will win, I mean, I can't imagine, you know, Romney, who in the face of the hurricane thinks what you ought to do is have a can drive. I mean, he lives in 1957, and that he could be so close is bizarre. But, I mean, look at Obama, tossed out 1 million immigrants, silently approved the Gaza massacres weeks before his inauguration, borrowed trillions to restore the U.S. casino capitalism, establishes a kill list that even includes U.S. citizens, okayed indefinite detention, again, even U.S. citizens, made war on Libya against our own constitution, allied with Al-Qaeda in Libya and in Syria just before the Benghazi blowback, ignored civil rights and poverty and pandered to something he called the middle class. So it's a serious situation, and we're in a moneyocracy. So the normal tendency to vote the lesser of two evils goes out the hat. We have to vote for some kind of third party. In my case, I will probably vote green. And that's my little talk.